So today we are going to see the second chapter, in which we have to know about the agriculture. Uh, from a hunting gathering to growing foods, means how we started growing foods in our wait for a minute. So let's start this. Tushar's train journey. Tushar was going from Delhi to Chennai for his country's wedding. They were traveling by train and he had managed to squeeze into a window seat. His nose glued to the glass pane, and as he watched trees and houses fly past, his uncle tapped his shoulder and said, "Do you know that trains were first used about 115 years ago, and that people began using buses a few decades later?" Tushar wondered, when people couldn't travel quickly from one place to another, did, did they spend their entire lives, whether they were born? Not quite. The earliest people, why were they on the move? The move. We know about people who lived in the subcontinent as earlier as 2 million years ago. Today we describe them as hunter gatherers. The name comes from the way in which they got their food. Generally, they hunted wild animals, caught fish and birds, gathered fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, stalks, and eggs. Hunter Hunter gatherers moved from one place to place. There are many reasons for this. First, if they had stayed at one place stayed at one place for a long time, they would have eaten up all the available plant and animal resources. Therefore, they would have had a good elsewhere in search of food. Second, animals move from place to place either in search of a small prey, or in the case of deer and wild cattle, in search of grass and leaves. That is why those who hunted them had a flow their movements. What happened? Third, plants and trees bear fruits different season. So people may have moved from season to season in search of different kinds of plants. Fourth, people, plants, and animals need water to survive. Water is found in lakes, streams, and rivers. While many rivers and lakes are perennial with water throughout the year, that is called perennial. Other are seasonal. People living on their banks would have had to go in search of water during the dry season, winter and summer. How do we know about these people? Archaeologists have found some of the things hunter gatherers made and used. It is likely that people made and used tools of stone, wood, and bone, of which stone tools have survived best. Some of these stone tools were used to cut meat and bone, scrap bark. Scrap bark means from trees, and hides, animal skins, chop fruits and roots. Some may have been attached to handles of bones or wood. To make spears and arrows from hunting, other tools were used to chop wood, which was used as firewood. Wood was also used to make huts, and tools. Huts means choki. Choosing a place to live. Look at map 2 below. All the places marked with the red triangle are sites from which archaeologists have found evidence of hunter gatherers live in many more places. Only some are shown on the map. Many sites were located near sources of water, such as river and lakes. As stone tools were important, people tried to find places where good quality stone was easily available. Rock painting and what they tell us. A painting from a rock shelter describe the painting. Many of the caves in which these earlier people lived have painting on the walls. Some of the best examples are from Madhya Pradesh and South Uttar Pradesh. These paintings shows wild animals drawn with great accuracy and skill. Sits are places where the remains of things, tools, pots, buildings were found. These were made, used, and left behind by people. These may be found on the source of the earth, buried under the earth, or sometime even under the water. We will learn more about different sites, sites, not seeds, site SITES, in later chapter. Find out fire. Find the Kurnool cave on map 2. Trash of ash have been found here. This suggests that people were familiar with use of fire. Fire could have been used from many things, as a source of light, to roast meat, and to scare away animals. What do we use fire for today? For several things. Names and dates. Archaeologists have given a lengthy name for the time that we are studying. They call the earliest period the Paleolithic. These come from two Greek words, paleo meaning old and lithos meaning stone. The name points to the importance of finds of stone tools. The Paleolithic period extends from 2 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. This long stretch of time is divided into the lower, middle, and upper plat, plat, Paleolithic. This long space of time covers 19% of human history. The period when we find environmental change beginning about 12,000 years ago till about 10,000 years ago is called Mesolithic. Mid-stone tools found during this period are generally tiny and are called microliths. Microliths were probably stuck on the handles of bone or wood to make tools such as saws, sickles. At the same time, other varieties of tools continue to be in use. The next stage from about 10,000 years ago is known as Neolithic. What do we think the terms Neolithic means? We have also mentioned the name of some places. You will find the name of many more places in later chapters. Very often we use present day names of the places where people lived in the past because we do not know what they called them. A changing environment. Around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in climate of the world. With the shift to relatively relatively warm conditions in many areas. This led to the development of grasslands. This turn led to an increases in the number of deer, antelopes, goats, sheep, and cattle. That is, animals that survived on the grass. Those who hunted these animals now followed them, learning about their food habits and their breeding seasons. It is likely that this helped people to start thinking about herding and rearing these animals themselves. Fishing also become important. The beginning of farming and herding. This was also a time when several grain bringing grasses including wheat, barley and rice grew naturally in different parts of subcontinent. Men, women and children probably collected these grains and food and learned whether they grew and when they ripened. ripened. These may have led them to think about growing plants on their own. In this way, people become farmers. People could also attract and then tame animals by leaving food from them near later shelters. The first animal to be tamed was the wild ancestors of a dog. Later, people in, encouraged animals that were relatively gentle to come near the campus where they lived. These animals, such as sheep, goat, cattle, and also the pig, lived in herds, and most of them ate grass. Often, people protected these animals from attacks by other wild animals. This is how they become her herders. Can you think of any reason why the dogs was perhaps the first animals to be tamed? I don't know. If you have answer, you can explain me. Domestication is the name given to the process in which people grow plants and look after animals. Very often, plants and animals that are tended by people become different from wild plants and animals. This is because people selected plants and animals from domestication. For example, they selected these plants and animals that are not prone to disease. They also selected plants they yield larger size grain and have stone stalks capable of bearing the weight of the ripe grain. Seeds from selected plants are preserved and sown to ensure that a new plant and seeds will have the same qualities. Amongst animals, those that are relatively gentle are selected for breeding. As a result, gradually domesticated animals and plants become different for wild animals and plants. For example, the teeth and horn of wild animals are usually much larger than these of domesticated animals. Look at these two sets of teeth. Which do you think belongs to a wild pig and which to a domestic one? Domestication was a gradual process that took place in many parts of the world. It began about 12,000 years ago. Virtually all the plants and animals produced that we use as food today in result of domestication. Some of the earliest plants to be domesticated were wheat and barley. The earliest domesticated animals include sheep and goats. A new way of life. If you plant a seed, you will notice that it takes some time to grow. This may be for a several days, weeks, months, and in some cases years. When people begin growing plants, it means that they had to stay in the same place for a long time, looking after the plants, watering, weeding, driving away animals and birds. So I have birds till the grain reaped, and then the grain had to be usually careful. So I have observed two important things in here. Firstly, about the animals and agriculture mainly I observe everything about seeds takes time to grow, and those animals are domesticated who they are more uh, more what innocent, who they come near and stay uh, with someone, mainly human beings, and by them, and the human being have a human being don't feel any harm with those animals, then he make them or uh, uh, keep them as domestic animals. That's two things I observe here. As grain had to be stored from both food and seeds, people had to think of ways to storing it. In many areas, they began making large clay pots or wove baskets or dog pits into the ground. Do you think hunter gatherers would have made and used pots? Give reasons for your answer. Reaching animals multiply naturally. Beside, if they are looked after carefully, they provide milk, which is an important source of food, and meat whenever required. In the other world, animals that are reared can be used as a store of food. Apart from food, what are the other things that could have been obtained from animals? What are animals used for today? Finding out about the first farmer and her herderers. Turn to page, turn to map 2. You will notice a number of blue squares. Each mark a site from where archaeologists have found evidence of early farmers and herderers. These are found all over the subcontinents. Some of the most important ones are in the northwest, in present day Kashmir, and in the east and south India. To find out whether these sites were settlements of farmers and herderers, scientists studied evidence of plants and animals' bones. One of the most existing finds includes remains of burnt grain. These may have been burnt accidentally or on purpose. Scientists can identify these grains, and so we know that a number of crops were grown in different parts of subcontinent. They can also identify the bones of different animals. Towards and settled life. Archaeologists have found traces of huts or houses at some sites. For instance, in Burjoham, in present-day Kashmir, people built pit houses which were dug into a ground with steps leading into them. These may have provided shelters in cold weather. Archaeologists have also found cooking hearths both inside and outside huts, which suggested that depending on the weather, people could cook food either indoor or outdoors. Stone tools have been found from many sites as well. Many of these are different from the earlier pla- pla- Paleolithic tools. That is why they are called Neolithic. These include tools that were polished to give a fine cutting edge. Cutting edge. And mortars and pestles used for grinding grain and other plants produce. Mot- mortar- mot- mot- mortars mortars and pestles are used for grinding grains. Even today, several thousand years later, at the same time, tools of the Paleolithic types continued to be made and used. And remember, some tools were also made of bone. Many kinds of earthen pots have also been found. These were sometimes decorated and were used for storing things. People began using pots for cooking food, especially grains like rice, wheat, and lentils that now become an important part of the diet. Beside this, began weaving cloth, used different kinds of materials, for example, cotton that could not now be grown. Did things change everywhere and all at once? Not quite. In many areas, men and women still continued to hunt and gather food, and elsewhere people adopted farming and herding slowly over several thousand years. Besides, in some cases, people tried to combine these activists doing different things during different seasons. A closer look, living and dying in Mehergar. Finding Mehergar on map 2. These sites located in fertile plain near the Bolan Pass, located Bolan Pass, which is one of the most important routes into Iran. Mehergar was probably one of the places where people learned to grow barley and wheat, and rarer sheep and goats from first time in this area. It is one of the earliest villages that we know about. At this site, many animal bones were found. Bones of wild animals such as the deer and pig, and also bones of sheep and goat were found. Other finds at Mehergar includes remains of a square and rectangular houses. Each house had four or more compartments, some of which may have been used for storage. When people die, their relatives and friends generally pay respect to them. People look after them, perhaps in the belief that there is some from life after death. Burial is one such arrangement. Several burial sites have been found at Mehergar. In one instance, the dead person was buried with gods which were probably meant to serve as food in the next world. A huge superstition, you can call it. So now we have some activities, like we have a lot of keywords. Imagine, let us recall, let us discuss, let us do. So in keywords, hunter gatherer sites, habitat habitation, habitation, factory, uh, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Microlithic, domestication, farmers, headers, Neolithic, one more, and burials. Mm. So I have doubt in mainly 5, so I will see this too. Imagine you live in a rock shelter like the one shown in page 13, about 12,000 years ago. Page number 13. Oh, this is my how I have to imagine. And I am in here 12,000 years ago. Your uncle is painting on the inner wall of the cave and you want to help him. Will you fix the colors, draw the lines, find the colors, and what are the stories he might tell you? So probably I will choose green color because it is easy to access from any plant leaves, and maybe the brownie and black color due to the charcoal of woods, and brownie from soil mating. And the thing that will I help in drawing, what will I draw? Just dots, but or complete the sentences. Hunter gatherers close to live in the cave and rope shelters because due to what? Crops, maybe. Grasslands developed around several years ago, 12,000 years ago. Why do we grow crops? Have you stay in the same place for a long time? That's why we can stay in the same place for a long time. Yes, I have stayed in the same place for a long time, almost 10, 12 years, like 15 years. Why do archaeologists think that many people who lived in Mehergarh were hunters to start with, and that herding becomes more important later? Due to hard work in agriculture and lack of tools for agriculture. Why? Let us discuss. Why did the hunters gatherers travel from place to place? In what way are these similar to different from region from which we travel today? It is completely different. That time they travel from place to place due to lack of foods, but today's time we are traveling from one place to another place or place to place due to excess of food. When people choose to travel from other places, when his all the fundamental needs were completed, then he choose for the seventh need, that is traveling. List 3 ways in which hunters gatherers use first. List 3 ways in which hunters gather used fire. Would you use fire for any of these purposes today? Firstly, mainly for cooking foods, lightening places, or threatening animals, wild animals. List three ways in which the lives of farmers and herders would have been different from the hunters and gatherers. Farmers and herders, hunter and gatherers. Uh, Farmers and herders have a fixed life in a specific area, but they were movable. Gatherers and hunters, they uh, cannot survive in a single place for several time, and their life was quite difficult rather than the farmers and herders. So let's do something. List the cereals that you eat. Uh, do you grow the cereals, anaj, grains? If you yes, draw a chart to show the stages in which growing them. If you not, draw a chart to show how these cereals reach you from the farmers and who grow them. Some important dates. So the Mesolithic period, 12,000 years to 10,000 years ago. Beginning of domestication, about 12 years ago. Beginning of settlement at Mehergarh, about 8,000 years ago. The beginning of Neolithic, 10,000 years ago. That's all I have for today, and tomorrow we will going to see the chapter in the earliest cities, the oldest cities of the ancient India and world, we can say. We are going to see in the next session. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.